Welcome to Josh Gordon with Kara.
Welcome to Josh Gordon's channel, co-hosted by Kara Blake, where we dive into today's topic.
That's right, we're diving in.
We're taking a deep dive into Smile 2.
Ooh.
And you're in the director's chair, deciding whether to buy a ticket or not.
Lots of buzz around this one.
Yeah.
Even compared to the original.
Real?
If you're looking for more than just your average jump scares, this might be the flick for you.
Okay, let's unpack this. Smile 2 hit theaters on October 18th, 2024. Same director, Parker Finn.
Yep.
But it sounds like he's going for a different kind of scare this time. What's got people talking?
Critics are saying this one really gets under your skin. It's not just about the creepy visuals, though those are definitely there. It's about how Finn uses those visuals, along with sound and pacing, to get inside the characters' heads.
So he's messing with our minds, huh?
Yeah.
Give us an example.
Okay.
What's he doing differently in Smile 2?
Think about a scene where Skye, our main character,
Right.
just walking down the street. Finn will use these super tight close-ups on her face, just slightly distorting her features.
Okay.
Nothing overtly scary, but it creates this unsettling feeling, like something's not quite right.
Ooh. I can see how that would be creepy.
Right.
Subtly unsettling, rather than in your face scary.
Exactly. And then he'll layer in this discordant piano music.
Oh, wow.
All minor chords and off-key notes.
Uh-huh.
It just heightens the tension and makes you feel like something bad is about to happen.
He's playing us like a piano. I love that.
Uh-huh.
So we've got a pop star, Skye, played by Naomi Scott,
Yes.
dealing with some serious trauma.
Yeah,
From what I heard, her performance is getting rave reviews.
it is.
What's she bringing to the role that's resonating with people?
She's incredible.
Wow.
Skye is this global pop star used to having everything together,
Right.
but underneath, she's battling some serious demons.
Hmm.
Scott manages to show both sides of that struggle, the polished facade and the raw vulnerability beneath it.
She's got so much going on.
Yeah.
Right? Like she's battling her own demons
Yeah.
while dealing with this creepy supernatural stuff.
Totally. And you see that in Scott's performance.
Yeah.
You feel her fear, but you also sense this inner strength, this refusal to just give in.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
The original Smile dealt with trauma too,
Uh-huh.
but it sounds like Smile 2 takes it even further.
Oh, absolutely.
Wow.
This film is almost like a visual representation of how trauma can haunt you.
Right.
It's disturbing, for sure, but also really thought-provoking. Critics are praising Finn for not shying away from those darker aspects of the human experience.
Now, speaking of critics,
Okay.
let's look at what they're saying about Smile 2 overall.
All right.
Rotten Tomatoes gives it a pretty impressive 87% positive rating.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Right.
A lot of reviewers are pointing to the film's eerie atmosphere and the way it delves into the character's inner turmoil.
Okay.
They're saying Finn isn't just interested in delivering cheap thrills. He's trying to say something about how trauma can shape us,
Okay.
how it can linger long after the initial event.
Though some critics felt it wasn't quite as impactful as the original,
Yeah,
it sounds like it's still being praised as a solid sequel.
it is.
What about IGN? What did they think?
IGN gave it a respectable 7 out of 10.
Okay.
One of their critics mentioned that while the pacing could feel uneven at times,
Right.
they appreciated the film's psychological depth.
Right.
They specifically called out a scene where Skye's reflection in a mirror starts to move independently.
Oh, nice.
It's subtle, but incredibly effective in building that sense of unease.
Ooh, I love those creepy mirror moments.
Yeah.
So positive, but with a few reservations.
Uh-huh.
What about Screen Rant?
Yeah.
They put a different perspective.
Screen Rant seemed to really appreciate the slow burn approach.
Uh-huh.
You know, letting the suspense simmer rather than relying on constant jump scares.
Okay.
But they did point out that the film might have too much going on, story-wise. They felt that juggling multiple subplots might have distracted from the main narrative.
So maybe a bit too much of a good thing.
Yeah, maybe.
I can see how that might be a concern for some viewers.
Right.
But I guess that also opens up the film for discussion, right?
Yeah.
People will have different opinions on whether those subplots work or not.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And those different perspectives are what make these deep dives so interesting. It's not about declaring one movie good or bad,
Right.
but about exploring what it has to offer,
Yeah.
what it makes you think about.
For sure. Building on those generally positive reviews,
Okay.
Metacritic gives Smile 2 a 75.
Hmm.
What really struck me was a critic who praised the emotional core of the story,
Yeah.
saying it's what sets this film apart.
What's fascinating here is that this critic actually admitted to finding some of the horror elements a bit predictable.
Interesting.
But they were still deeply moved by the way the film explored Skye's struggle with trauma and her journey towards healing.
So it's not just about scaring the audience.
Right.
It's about connecting with them on a deeper emotional level.
Exactly.
That's really interesting.
Right.
Yeah.
It's almost like a subversion of the genre.
Right.
You expect a horror film to leave you feeling terrified and hopeless.
Yeah.
But Smile 2 seems to be offering a glimmer of something more. A suggestion that even the darkest of experiences can be overcome. And critics are responding to that.
We've got lots more to explore with Smile 2.
We do.
And I'm already hooked. Don't go anywhere.
Stay tuned.
We'll be back in a flash to dig even deeper into the film's themes,
Okay.
the critical reception, and what it all means for you.
And remember, this is your deep dive.
Yes.
We want to hear your thoughts.
Yes. Leave a comment below.
Yeah.
With your initial reactions to Smile 2.
Right.
What are you most curious about? What stood out to you from the reviews?
Yeah, let us know.
We love hearing from you.
We do.
And if you're enjoying this deep dive with Josh and Cara, subscribe to Josh Gordon's channel for more great content from us.
That's right. It's really interesting to see how Smile 2 is being compared to its predecessor.
Yeah.
Some critics are saying it's even more unsettling, even though it might rely less on outright jump scares.
It sounds like Finn is really playing with our expectations. We think we know what's coming.
Right.
But he's always one step ahead,
Yeah.
twisting those familiar horror tropes into something new and unexpected.
Exactly. And that seems to be what's resonating with people.
Yeah.
It's not just about being startled.
Right.
It's about that creeping sense of dread.
Right.
The feeling that something is deeply wrong, even if you can't quite put your finger on it.
Like that scene with Skye's reflection that you mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
That's the kind of image that sticks with you long after the movie's over.
Right.
Yeah.
It plays on those primal fears. The idea that we're not even safe from ourselves.
Right.
That something sinister could be lurking beneath the surface.
Okay, so we've talked about Naomi Scott's performance.
Yes.
And how Finn's direction enhances that feeling of unease. But what about the film's themes?
Okay.
We've touched on trauma,
Right.
but how does Smile 2 actually explore those deeper issues?
It's not just about showing the effects of trauma.
Right.
It's about visualizing those effects in a way that's both disturbing and insightful.
Oh.
One of the critics I read described it as trauma made flesh,
Whoa!
which I thought was a really powerful way to put it.
Ooh, that's chilling. So it's not just about the scares. It's about using those scares to represent something deeper, something about the human condition.
Exactly. And that seems to be what sets Smile 2 apart from other horror films. It's not just trying to scare you.
Right.
It's trying to make you think about the nature of fear itself,
Okay.
how it can take root in our minds and shape our reality.
So how does the film actually visualize trauma? What kind of techniques does Finn use to bring those internal struggles to life?
One technique that critics have pointed out is the use of distorted sound.
Okay.
For example, there's a scene where Skye's having a flashback to a traumatic event, and the audio becomes muffled and warped, almost like you're hearing it underwater.
Oh, wow.
It's a subtle detail, but it really conveys the disorienting nature of trauma.
Right.
How it can make you feel like you're losing your grip on reality.
That's so clever. It's like he's not just telling us that Skye is struggling.
Yeah.
He's making us feel that struggle through the sound design.
Right.
Yeah.
It's about creating an immersive experience that goes beyond the visual.
Right.
And that attention to detail is evident throughout the film.
Okay.
From the lighting to the set design to the way the camera moves, everything seems to be working together to create this unsettling atmosphere that reflects Skye's inner turmoil.
It sounds like Finn has a really deep understanding of the psychology of horror. Not just how to scare people,
Right.
but how to use those scares to say something meaningful about the human experience.
Absolutely. And that's what makes this film so compelling.
Right.
It's not just a mindless horror flick. It's a film that stays with you,
Right.
that makes you think about your own fears and anxieties.
Now, we've talked about the critical praise,
Okay.
but we also mentioned that some critics felt the film might have been juggling too many subplots.
Right.
What kind of subplots are we talking about?
Okay.
And do you think they detract from the overall experience?
Well, one subplot involves a detective who's investigating the string of mysterious deaths connected to the smile curse. And another subplot explores the history of the curse itself
Oh.
delving into its origins and how it's been passed down through generations.
So we've got a bit of a mystery element thrown in there.
Yeah.
Along with some supernatural lore.
Right.
It sounds like Finn is trying to create a rich and complex world for these characters to inhabit.
Exactly. And I think that ambition is commendable.
Okay.
But some critics felt that these subplots, while intriguing, weren't fully developed and might have taken away from the film's focus on Skye's journey.
So maybe a case of too many ideas competing for attention.
Yeah, maybe.
It's interesting to consider whether those subplots enhance the story or create unnecessary distractions. I guess it's all a matter of personal preference.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's what's so great about film criticism.
Yeah.
There's no single right answer.
Right.
It's all about how individual viewers respond to the film's choices.
Right.
What resonates with them and what doesn't.
Speaking of individual responses,
Okay.
let's talk about the audience reaction to Smile 2.
All right.
What are people saying about the film online?
Well, from what I've seen, the response has been pretty divided. Some people are absolutely loving the film,
Correct.
praising its originality,
Right.
its unsettling atmosphere, and its thought-provoking themes.
Okay.
They're saying it's one of the best horror films they've seen in years.
It sounds like it's definitely hitting the mark for those who are looking for a horror film that's more than just jump scares.
Exactly.
Right.
But there are also those who are finding the film a bit too slow-paced or confusing.
Okay.
They're saying that the subplots don't really add anything to the story,
Right.
and that the ending is a bit of a letdown.
So it's not a film for everyone.
Right.
Which is fine.
Exactly.
Not every film needs to be universally loved.
Right.
It sounds like it's definitely sparking some interesting discussions, though.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's what we love about movies, right?
Yeah.
Give us something to talk about, something to debate,
Yeah.
something to analyze.
Exactly. And speaking of analysis,
Okay.
let's dive a bit deeper into the film's themes.
Correct.
We've talked about trauma,
Uh-huh.
but what other ideas is Finn exploring in Smile 2?
One theme that seems to be recurring is the idea of isolation. Skye is dealing with this supernatural curse,
Right.
but she's also isolated from the people around her. Okay.
They don't believe her.
Right.
They think she's crazy.
Yeah.
And that just adds to her sense of fear and desperation.
So the film is tapping into those anxieties about not being believed, about feeling like you're going through something terrifying.
Right.
And no one understands what you're going through.
Right. It's a very real fear.
Yeah.
And it's something that a lot of people who have experienced trauma can relate to.
Right.
The feeling of being alone in your suffering,
Right.
of not being able to connect with others.
That's really powerful.
Yeah.
So we've got trauma, isolation, and what else?
Okay.
What other themes are bubbling beneath the surface?
Another theme that critics have picked up on is the idea of perception versus reality. Throughout the film, Skye is questioning her own sanity.
Right.
She doesn't know what's real and what's not.
Right.
What's a hallucination and what's actually happening.
It's like the film is blurring the lines between those two worlds.
Yeah.
Making us question our own perception of events.
That's a classic horror trope.
Right.
But it sounds like Finn is doing something really interesting with it here.
He's definitely playing with our expectations.
Yeah.
And that ambiguity adds another layer of suspense to the film.
Right.
We're never quite sure what's going to happen next or who we can trust.
It sounds like Finn is really pushing the boundaries of the horror genre, using it not just to scare us,
Right.
but to explore these complex psychological themes.
Absolutely. And that's what makes Smile 2 such an intriguing film.
Right.
It's a horror film that's also a character study, a meditation on trauma,
Right.
and a commentary on how we perceive the world around us.
That's pretty impressive for a sequel.
Yeah.
It sounds like Finn is really building on the foundation he established with the first film,
Yes,
taking those themes and ideas even further.
exactly. And I think that's what audiences are responding to. They're not just getting another Smile movie.
Right.
They're getting a film that's willing to take risks, to challenge them intellectually and emotionally.
Well, we've covered a lot of ground here today.
We have.
We've talked about the critical reception,
Uh-huh.
the acting,
Right.
the directing,
Yes.
the themes,
Yes.
and even the audience reaction to Smile 2.
Right?
But there's still one big question we haven't answered.
Okay.
Is it worth seeing?
That's the million-dollar question.
It is.
And I think it ultimately comes down to what you're looking for in a horror film.
Right?
If you're just looking for cheap thrills and jump scares, this might not be the film for you.
Okay.
But if you're looking for a film that's genuinely unsettling, thought-provoking,
Right.
and emotionally resonant, then Smile 2 might just be the ticket.
Exactly.
Okay.
It's a film that's not afraid to delve into the darker aspects of the human experience to make us confront our fears and anxieties.
Yeah.
But it's also a film that offers a glimmer of hope, a suggestion that even in the face of trauma and isolation, we can find a way to heal and connect with others.
Exactly.
It sounds like Smile 2 is a film that will stay with you long after the credits roll.
Absolutely. And we'd love to hear your thoughts on the film.
Yes.
What resonated with you?
Right.
What questions did it raise for you?
Yeah.
Let's continue this conversation in the comments below.
And remember, if you're enjoying this deep dive with Josh and Cara,
yes,
subscribe to Josh Gordon's channel for more great content from us.
That's right.
We've got plenty more film analyses, deep dives, and thought-provoking discussions coming your way.
You know, it's interesting how Smile 2 seems to be generating such a wide range of reactions.
Yeah.
Some viewers are praising its depth and originality,
Right.
while others are finding it confusing or even frustrating. What do you make of that divide?
I think it speaks to the film's ambition.
Okay.
Finn isn't just trying to deliver a straightforward horror experience.
Right.
He's playing with genre conventions, blending psychological thriller elements with supernatural horror.
And weaving in these thought-provoking themes about trauma, isolation, and perception.
Yeah.
Not everyone's going to be on board for that kind of ride.
Right. It's like he's challenging the audience to engage with the film on a deeper level.
Yeah.
To think about what's happening beneath the surface.
Exactly. And that's what makes it so fascinating to discuss.
Right.
It's not a passive viewing experience. It's a film that demands your attention.
Right.
That makes you question what you're seeing and feeling.
Now, one of the aspects of the film that seems to be dividing audiences is the ending,
Okay.
without giving anything away.
Right.
Can you talk about how the film wraps up
Yeah.
and why it might be provoking such strong reactions?
Well, the ending is definitely ambiguous. It leaves a lot open to interpretation,
Okay.
which is something that some viewers love and others hate.
Right.
Some critics have said it feels like a cop-out,
Yeah.
a way to avoid providing a clear resolution to Skye's story.
So it's not a neat and tidy ending.
Right.
Where everything is tied up in a bow.
Not at all. It's more like a question mark,
Okay.
a lingering sense of unease that stays with you even after the credits roll.
And that ambiguity seems to be in line with the film's overall themes, right?
Yeah.
The idea that trauma can have a lasting impact.
Yeah.
That it can distort our perception of reality.
Right.
And make it difficult to find closure.
Exactly. The ending isn't about providing easy answers.
Okay.
Or reassuring the audience that everything will be okay.
Right.
It's about reflecting the messy, complex nature of trauma and the challenges of healing.
So it's not just a horror film.
Right.
It's a film about the human condition.
Yeah.
About the things that haunt us, the scars that we carry,
Right.
and the ways we try to cope.
Beautifully put. And I think that's ultimately what makes Smile 2 such a rewarding film.
Yeah.
Even if it's not always an easy watch.
Right.
It's a theme that stays with you.
Right.
That makes you think about your own experiences, your own fears, and your own resilience.
It sounds like Smile 2 is the kind of film that will spark countless discussions and debates.
Yeah.
Which is what we love to see here at Josh Gordon's channel.
Absolutely. And we want to hear your thoughts.
Yes. Let us know down in the comments below.
What did you think of the ending? Did it leave you satisfied, frustrated, or somewhere in between? Let us know in the comments below.
And before we go, I want
Yeah.
to pose one final question for our listeners.
Okay, shoot.
We've talked about how Smile 2 blends psychological horror with supernatural elements.
Uh-huh.
Do you think that blending of genres is effective?
Hmm.
Does it enhance the film's scares?
Right.
Or does it create a sense of confusion?
That's a great question. It's a delicate balance, for sure.
Right.
And we'd love to hear your thoughts on whether Smile 2 strikes that balance effectively.
We always appreciate your insights and perspectives.
We do.
And if you're enjoying this deep dive with Josh and Cara,
Yeah.
subscribe to Josh Gordon's channel for more great content from us.
That's
We'll be back soon with another deep dive into the world of film,
okay.
exploring everything from the latest blockbusters to hidden indie gems.
Until then, keep watching.
Yes.
Keep thinking, and keep those smiles turned upside down.
See you next time.